The old rancher had warned him twice. "Your head. Don't pull it out." The words carried across the dry Oklahoma wind like a cracked bell, sharp and uneasy. Eli Mercer froze with both hands wrapped around the iron handle jutting from the earth. It looked like the broken head of an old plow, rusted and half buried at the edge of the abandoned pasture. He'd found it while clearing land for a new fence, the sun high and merciless, the town of Red Hollow quiet behind him. Eli wiped sweat from his brow and glanced back at the rancher standing near the fence line. Caleb Holt had lived in Red Hollow longer than anyone. His back was bent from years of work, his face carved deep with lines that looked older than the town itself. Folks said he'd seen the place burn, watched it burn once, and somehow survive. When Caleb Holt told you not to do something, most men listened. Most men. "It's just scrap," Eli said, forcing a laugh. "Probably been stuck here since before the railroad." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Some things stay buried for a reason." Eli shrugged. He needed the land cleared by sundown. He leaned back and pulled. The iron head came free with a sound like a sigh. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground beneath Eli's boots grew warm. He dropped the iron and stumbled back as he'd rolled up from the hole it left behind. The air shimmered, as if the land itself had taken a breath after holding it for 100 years. Caleb shouted something, but the words were lost as a deep, low rumble passed through the field. In Red Hollow, doors creaked open. The first thing the town noticed was the silence. No wind, no insects, no distant cattle calls. Even the old windmill near the well stopped its steady groan. People stepped onto porches and into dusty streets, uneasy without knowing why. Then they saw the smoke. A thin black thread rose from Eli's pasture, curling into the blue sky. Caleb ran toward Eli as fast as his legs would carry him. "I told you," he said, his voice hoarse. "I told you not to pull it." Eli stared at the hole, heart hammering. "What did I do?" Caleb didn't answer. He knelt, pressing his palm to the ground, then pulled it back sharply as if burned. Fear flickered across his weathered face. "You woke it," he said. By the time the sheriff arrived, the soil around the hole was cracked and glowing faintly red, like coals beneath ash. Sheriff Tom Briggs had seen his share of strange things in the West. Bad men, worse storms, but this made his stomach knot. "What in God's name is that?" he asked. Caleb stood, shoulders squared despite his age. "A reminder," he said, "of what this land cost. Long before Red Hollow had a name, before fences and deeds, there had been another settlement there. Men hungry for silver had dug too deep, ignored warnings, and fought each other for what lay underground. The fire came after. Nobody knew how it started, only that it swallowed the camp in a single night. The ground burned. The creek boiled. Those who survived swore the land itself had turned against them. When the smoke cleared, they buried the remains and drove an iron marker into the earth, a warning more than a monument. Then they left. Time passed. Stories faded. New people arrived. Only Caleb remembered, because his father had been one of the men who helped drive that iron head into the ground. As Caleb spoke, the glow spread outward in slow veins beneath the soil. Windows rattled. A low hum filled the air, felt more in the bones than heard. "Everyone needs to leave," Sheriff Briggs said, forcing calm into his voice. Now, but Red Hollow didn't move. Fear had rooted them where they stood. Then flames burst from the hole. Not a wild blaze, but a steady, furious fire, rising straight up as if guided by an unseen hand. Heat washed over the field. Eli fell to his knees, shielding his face. Caleb stepped forward. "You want blood," he shouted into the fire. "You took enough." The flames roared higher in answer. Caleb turned to Eli. "That iron wasn't scrap. It was a lock. You pulled the head out, and now the door's open." The town finally broke from its spell. People ran, shouting, dragging children and elders toward the far hills. Horses screamed and tore at their tethers. The church bell rang once, then cracked. Eli found his voice. "How do we stop it?" Caleb looked at the iron head lying in the dirt, glowing faintly now, hot but not burning. "We put it back," he said, "before the land finishes what it started." "But it won't go back," Eli said, panic rising. "The ground's too hot." Caleb picked up the iron with a grunt, pain flashing across his face as the heat seared his palms. "Somebody has to hold it." Eli grabbed the other side. The metal burned, but he held on, teeth clenched. Together they stepped toward the hole. The fire lashed out, sparks snapping like angry insects. The ground shook harder now, the hum rising to a scream. Eli thought of the town behind him, of the quiet streets and simple lives, and pushed forward. They drove the iron head back into the earth. The moment it slid into place, the fire collapsed inward with a thunderous crack. Heat vanished. The ground went dark. Silence rushed back in, heavy and complete. Caleb fell to his knees. Eli dropped beside him, hands blistered, chest heaving. Slowly, sounds returned. The wind, a distant shout, a horse snorting in fear. The town crept back as night fell, drawn by relief and disbelief. The field was blackened, but the fire was gone. The iron head sat flush with the ground, still warm, but quiet. Sheriff Briggs removed his hat. "Guess some warnings should be listened to," he said. Caleb nodded, exhausted. "The land remembers," he said softly. "Even when we don't." Red Hollow rebuilt its fence, and Eli finished his work, carefully avoiding that patch of ground. No one ever tried to dig there again. And when the wind is just right, some swear you can still feel warmth beneath your boots, like a heartbeat, steady and waiting, held in place by an iron head no one dares to pull out again.